Welcome back to the Avatar series right here at Comicstorian, your #1 place for dramatic readings of your favorite comic books. I am Dan, and today we are going to be concluding the Avatar series, Smoke and Shadow. Zuko stands ready, his friends behind him. "I know that's you, Azula. Tell your friends to let Ki-Yi go," he yells at the Kimura Kage with lightning crackling in her hands. But she launches lightning at him, as she always does, and Zuko captures and redirects it back at her. But this time, she catches it and throws it again. Zuko isn't ready for this secondary attack and is launched across the roof, to luckily be caught by the Avatar. "I'm okay, she's gotten strong again," Zuko tells his friends. The Kimura Kage tries to escape, but Suki and Ty Lee try to stop her. They leap, but the vengeful spirit is fast, spinning around and knocking them both away before she leaps into the air and escapes in a bolt of lightning. Zuko rushes forward, watching as the Kimura Kage disappear in a poof of smoke from the palace rooftops, Ki-Yi with them. He turns as his mother and Norin rush from the safety of the palace. "They took her, didn't they? They took my baby," Ursa whispers. Zuko bows his head, apologizing to his mother. The next morning, Zuko sits on his throne as his constable reports to him about last night's kidnappings. He also tells the Fire Lord that the people are frightened, with some trying to evacuate the city. The constable is interrupted as May and the others enter the chamber. Zuko quickly fills his ex-girlfriend in on how they believe the Kimura Kage are actually Azula and her followers. "Last night, one of them shot lightning at us," Suki informs her. "It wasn't just the lightning, May, it was how she moved," Ty Lee adds. Zuko nods, telling her that they are sure that it's Azula. "But why would she kidnap those kids and her own sister?" May questions. After their explanation, May admits to Zuko that she lied about her father's involvement with the new Ozai Society and the Safe Nation Society. "Not only is Yukino involved, he is their leader," she tells him, bowing her head. "That guy's really into societies," Aang notes. Zuko questions why she had lied to him, but May points out that Zuko should understand how someone could feel about betraying their family, no matter how evil they are. "You're right. I'm sorry," he admits to her. She tells him that when they last saw him, she felt like Yukino was hiding something from her. That she thinks that he already knew that the Kimura Kage weren't really spirits. That he knows more about the missing children than he is admitting. Zuko nods, turning to General Mok. "We need to bring Yukino and his allies in for questioning. Find out exactly what they know. Seal off the city. Until this situation is resolved, no one gets in or out," he orders him. He lets him know that if they can't find Yukino, the soldiers have ordered to search everyone's homes. Aang steps up behind his friend, trying to explain that this isn't the way to go about their search, that he will only frighten his citizens more. But Zuko shakes his head, explaining that they already tried things the Avatar's way, and it's time for a different approach. "If you're not willing to support me, then you need to leave," Zuko tells him. Aang continues to argue, forcing Zuko to order Suki and Ty Lee to escort the young Avatar out. They lead him outside, where Aang complains that there is so much more to do before going to the extremes that Zuko is planning. "If Sokka were here, he'd sneak off to investigate on his own," Suki smiles, leading the group away. In the secret chamber, the children are playing, and suddenly, the door opens to reveal Yukino and one of the Kimura Kage. "Good news, children! We've brought more friends!" Yukino tells them with a broad smile. The children all rush to hide from the Kimura Kage while Tom Tom runs up to his father. Meanwhile, Ki-Yi continues to fight against her capture. "The sedative wore off early on this one," the Kimura Kage hisses. She puts Ki-Yi down and the young girl glares at her. "I feel sorry for you," Ki-Yi snaps. "My brother is Fire Lord Zuko, and when he finds you, he's going to beat you to a pulp," she tells her. The Kimura Kage begins to move against her, but another steps in the way. "Don't bother, that one has fight in her. It's in her blood," she tells her. The spirits go into the other room, removing their masks. Azula smiles at her friends as they ask how much longer they're going to have to play babysitter. Patience! I broke you out of that horrible institution, remember? Watching a few brats is the least you could do for me, Azula tells them. She orders the others out of the room, wishing to speak with Yukino in private. He once again questions how long they will have to keep the children locked up here, and Azula smiles, a crazy look still in her eyes. She tells him that he has to do one more thing for her. She needs the Safe Nation Society to protest in the streets and to cause a riot. A riot? Why? The citizens are already turning against Zuko. It'll only be a matter of time before they demand that he step down, Yukino tells her. But Azula gets close, telling him that he only gets what he wants when she gets what she wants. And I want a riot, she tells him. Frightened, Yukino agrees, and he walks away, saying how he doesn't understand how this will put Ozai back on the throne. Idiot! Ozai was never a part of the plan, Azula whispers behind his back. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Aang and Suki continue to search through Kiyi's room, finding nothing. They are interrupted by Ty Lee, who leads them out onto the rooftop after she had remembered something. She tells them how when they were kids, they used to play hide and seek and she and May could never find Azula. It got really not fun. Until we found her secret, she tells them. Pushing a hidden brick, a section of the wall slides inward, revealing a secret passage. Whoa, Aang whispers. At the gates to the capital city, soldiers have already begun to blockade anyone leaving. They ride through the city's streets and enter people's homes, searching for Yukino and members of the Safe Nation Society. The citizens argue with them, believing that the Safe Nation Society are the heroes. And besides, why search somebody's home for a group that is operating in broad daylight? An old lady tells one of the soldiers, pointing out the window at the Safe Nation Society members as they protest down the streets. General Mok rides up to the Society members, ordering them to stop and that they are under arrest. But the people of Capital City are already angry and begin to yell and throw things at the soldiers. This is going to be easier than I thought, Yukino thinks to himself, and he turns to his members. We are fighting to protect our children, and instead of thanking us, Fire Lord Zuko treats us like common criminals. Will we stand for this injustice? He demands of them, and they all shout in anger. Resist Safe Nation Society! Resist the imposter forces at all costs! He shouts. The Society members lash out, meeting the Fire Nation soldiers in battle. The fight quickly spreads, turning into a full-scale riot, and in the confusion, Yukino quietly slips away. At May's house, Kai Lo is talking to his girlfriend's grandmother as he dives to protect her as a pot comes sailing through her window. He steps out into the street, trying to figure out what is going on, and is quickly caught up in the riot and arrested by the soldiers. In a Fire Nation airship, Iroh looks down at the Fire Nation as the captain tells him that they are nearing the coast. The pilot turns, asking what brings the man back to the Fire Nation. National Tea Appreciation Day will soon be upon us. We must begin preparations, Iroh tells the man with an enthusiastic smile. The man is shocked, thinking that the tea day was a one-time thing. Oh no, it's been woven into the fabric of Fire Nation culture, Iroh tells him. In the capital, General Mok is reporting about the riot to Zuko, who is shocked things have come to this. The constables arrive with the Safe Nation Society prisoners, and Zuko orders them to prepare the interrogation room. Mai is shocked as Kai Lo comes over the cart, however. She tries to speak with Zuko, convincing him that Kai Lo must have been captured by mistake. Though he is not sure at first, since the young man has betrayed his allegiances before, he does order him to be released. However, Zuko glares as Mai runs over to hug her boyfriend, but he is interrupted as Aang, Suki, and Ty Lee rush over. We found something you gotta see, come on, Aang yells at him. But General Mok interrupts, informing Zuko that they need a plan for if the people rise up again. And Zuko nods, turning away from his friend. I'm sorry, Aang, but General Mok is right. Like I told you, I need to handle this my way. Zuko tells him. Even if your way is stupid? Aang shouts. A determined look comes over him, and he orders Suki and Ty Lee to stand back. And he shoots an air scooter at Zuko, carrying him away on a ball of air as the Fire Lord yells at him, "Aang, put me down!" He finally drops him next to the secret passage they found as the others catch up with them. At first, Zuko is still angry, but he is shocked by the passage, asking if they believe that this is where Azula took the children. "Kiyi could be on the other side," Zuko tells them, looking into the passage. "Tom Tom too. I'm coming along," May tells him. Zuko nods, turning back to Suki and Ty Lee, ordering them to keep guard over the palace. And with that, the group of 4 head into the secret tunnels. In their secret chambers, Yukino explains to Azula that he did everything she asked and begs her to let the children go. Azula smiles, telling him that they had a deal and moves to unlock the door. But she turns away, explaining that if they let the children go, they will run straight to their parents and tell them what happened. They would expose my sisters and me before we were ready, Azula explains. "Is that what you want, Yukino?" she demands. Yukino shakes his head. "Of course not," he stutters. Azula smiles and turns away. "So we're in agreement then. We will keep our young guests here until the time is right. Good talk, Yukino. Good talk," she smiles. In the chamber, Tom Tom stands by the door, expecting his father to enter. One of the kids asks why Tom Tom's father is the only one who visits. "Tom Tom's dad is here because he's a bad guy, just like the scary ladies," one of the kids explains. Tom Tom rushes over, tackling the other boy for suggesting his father was bad. "Will you boys be quiet? I'm trying to concentrate here," Kiyi yells at them as she continues to move through bender stances. One of the other girls asks what she's doing. "I'm not sure, but I watched Zuzu do this in the courtyard one time, and I think this is what makes him brave," she tells them, continuing to practice the stances. Finally, Zuko and the others make it to the end of the passageway. They push open the door, revealing a vast cemetery around them. "This is the royal family graveyard," Zuko explains, telling them that this is where everyone in the royal family is buried. "It's called the Garden of Tranquil Souls," he explains. "Really? Well, I hate to break it to you, Zuko, but the souls here don't seem all that tranquil," Aang notes as they are suddenly surrounded by the Kamurakage. Back inside the palace, Iroh wanders the halls, looking for anyone. He finds Ursa meditating, a sad look on her face, and Kiyi's doll in her hands. And without a word, Iroh kneels down beside her. In their secret chambers, Yukino sobs in front of the door, crying about how he only wanted to bring safety to the Fire Nation, but instead has delivered the nation to a madwoman. Inside the chamber, the kids are frightened, thinking that it's a frog dog crying outside. "That's not a frog dog, that's my dad. I think he's crying," Tom Tom shouts. "That's stupid. Adults don't cry. It's a frog dog," the other boy yells, and the two start to fight again. "Boys, be quiet and move. I think I figured something out," Kiyi shouts at them, dropping into a bender stance. Outside, Yukino leans against the door, still apologizing to the trapped children, when suddenly the door begins to heat up behind him, and he moves away. In a matter of seconds, the metal of the door has melted to reveal Kiyi. "Hang on, children, I'll go get a bucket," Yukino shouts at them. And in a matter of minutes, the children are freed, and Yukino hugs Tom Tom as he explains that a terrible crime was committed against them, and the perpetrators must be brought to justice. "But before that, we must get you back to your parents," he tells them as they cheer. "And before that, you must keep your voices down so we don't get caught by the scary ladies," he warns them, and immediately, they all cover their mouths. In the cemetery, the group fights against the Kamurakage. May is struck by a kick, rolling and throwing one of her knives. The Kamurakage's cloak is cut, and Azula removes her mask. "Nice throw, May. You've been practicing," Azula smiles at her friend. "Azula? Where are you hiding those kids?" May demands. But Azula smiles, telling May that she was the one who gave her the idea. When they were children, they had stolen mochi from May's mother, and the young girl was so upset that she moaned about the Kamurakage coming to get her in her sleep. "Shut up already!" May shouts, throwing more knives. But Azula tosses a bolt of lightning, knocking May to the ground. Azula stands over her, but Kylo rushes from behind, knocking against the crazy woman. "Who is this imbecile?" Azula snaps as she strikes him with lightning. She grabs him, noting that May seems to be slumming it with her new boyfriend. "Leave him alone!" Zuko shouts, fire blazing in his hands. "Zuzu, trying to win back your ex-girlfriend by defending her new boyfriend? That's just sad," Azula notes before tossing lightning at her brother. Their power meets in the middle, creating a giant blast of energy. Azula turns, running off as Zuko gives chase. "Azula, stop!" he shouts as he dashes after her. Underground, Yukino turns back to assure the children that the exit is nearby. And as they round a corner, they come face to face with two of the Kamurakage. Back in the palace, Iroh and Ursa kneel next to each other. She finally opens her eyes, looking at the doll in her hands, and she explains that she made it for her daughter's birthday, and since she got her old face back, the young girl has refused to touch it. "She won't touch it. She won't touch me," she says, sadness in her voice. Iroh nods his head, but tells her that she has no reason to lose hope in her daughter. "Can I ask you something personal, Iroh? How did you get over the death of your son?" Ursa asks. There's a touch of sadness in Iroh's eyes as he explains that he never got over the death of his son. He explains that as parents, they want to keep their kids safe. Better to teach them and ourselves to see fear with unclouded eyes, he tells her. He explains that the fear for her daughter will always be there, even after she is returned safely, and that she must look at it with unclouded eyes. In the cemetery, Aang continues to fight the other Kamurakage. He knocks them away with a blast of air and knocks out the others by cracking them in the head with a dirt tower. "Zuko? May? Kylo? Hey, where'd everyone go?" he asks out loud, looking around the empty graveyard. "Help!" A soft shout can be heard from one of the mausoleums. He rushes over, knocking the door off to reveal Yukino and the children in a secret passage. "Look! It's the Avatar!" one of the children shouts, and the Kamurakage turn, rushing towards Aang with fire in their hands. Meanwhile, Zuko follows Azula into a crypt. Shocked as the door is locked behind him, he turns to find his sister sitting on the tomb before him. "Listen, Azula, maybe this is a weird thing to say given the circumstances, but you seem better," Zuko tells her. "Oh, not just better, stronger," she smiles as she rushes towards him. In the tunnel, Aang leaps over the Kamurakage's attacks, but smoke begins to spread all around them. "Monkey feathers! I took a breath at the wrong time!" Aang says to himself as he begins to stumble, and the Kamurakage kicks him in the back, knocking him down. "Who knew smoke in the lungs is all it took to get the better of the mighty Avatar?" one of the Kamurakage scoffs. Suddenly, May and Kylo are behind them, knocking them out with two sharp kicks. May quickly picks up Aang before rushing to Tom Tom. Back in the tomb, Azula and Zuko are locked in combat. Lightning cracks against fire as they dodge each other's blows. Azula kicks Zuko in the gut, knocking him down as she stands over him. He looks up at her, yelling that she needs to accept that she will never become the Fire Lord. "Accept it? I've embraced it!" she hisses with a smile. Explaining her plan, she explains that she finally realized that Zuko was right, that becoming the Fire Lord was never her destiny. Because of this, she felt a weight lifted off her shoulders and no longer heard voices in her head. She realized that her true destiny was to make Zuko strong, to make him the Fire Lord that she could never be. One who's strong, who rules with fear. She smiles. "Can't you see? It's already working," she asks him. Zuko turns, hearing the sounds of his friends and the children outside. "We've won, Azula," he tells her. "Oh, I disagree," she smiles. She explains that Zuko has shown how ruthless he can be in the last 24 hours. "Deep down, inside, you're still one of us. You can deny it for a little while, but eventually, you will become just like me. And then, in a sense, I'll be Fire Lord again," she tells him as smoke begins to swirl around them. "No, you're wrong!" he shouts. But suddenly, Azula is gone. "Accept it. It's who you are," she whispers to him as she disappears. He rushes back outside, hugging Kiyi and telling her how worried he was about her. "I wasn't worried at all. I knew you'd come for us," she tells her big brother. Later, Yukino stands outside the Fire Nation prison, saying goodbye to his son. He hugs the boy and hands him back to May. The two children watch as their father is chained. "Father, you deserve to go to prison for what you have done, but in the end, you were brave, and that is how I'll choose to remember you," May tells him. "That is more than I have right to ask," Yukino tells his daughter and is led away. At the palace, Zuko has called the citizens of the city together, and he stands before them, apologizing for the last 24 hours. He tells them that he has made decisions based on fear and not wisdom and clear thinking. He asks for their forgiveness, and he explains that they should not feel like prisoners in their own city. "I resolve to do better, and I will continue to strive to be a Fire Lord worthy of all of you," he tells them. "How touching," Azula smiles, watching from a nearby rooftop. Smoke begins to billow around her and her fellow Kamurakage. The wind blows, and the vengeful women are gone. Outside her flower shop, May's grandmother watches as May and Kylo exchange words, ending their relationship. And inside the prison, Iroh stands with Ursa in the torch-lit corridor. "Are you sure you're ready?" he asks. "Yes," she tells him, holding her lantern. Iroh nods as she enters the room. "Remember, unclouded eyes," he tells her. Ursa crosses the room, standing before Ozai. "Ursa, I heard you'd returned. That was a mistake," he tells her, looking up from the shadows of his cell. A crazed look appears in his eyes as he glares at her. "I promised that if I ever saw you again, I would end you and everyone you loved. But I'm going to do so much more than that. By the time I'm through, you will beg me for oblivion. You hear me, you wretched thing? You will beg!" he yells at her. Fear fills Ursa's eyes for a moment, but she gathers herself. I see you," she tells him. "After all these years, I finally see you, Ozai. You're just a small man, trying with all your might to be big. Your heart is so small, you've no room for your son, or your daughter, or your brother, or even yourself. Goodbye, Ozai," she tells him simply, turning to walk away. Ozai is stunned, his words coming out in stutters. But, don't you turn your back on me! Come back and grovel before me! Do you hear me? Come back and grovel!" he shouts. Ursa returns to her chambers, where she finds Norin and Kiyi asleep in their bed. She pulls the blankets aside, and her daughter looks up, sleep in her eyes. "Mommy, you're back!" Kiyi smiles sleepily. "I'm back," Ursa nods. And that is the conclusion to part 3 of Avatar: Smoke and Shadow. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon, and you can support us additionally by joining our YouTube membership or our Patreon at patreon.com/Comicstorian. I was Dan, your narrator today, and if you want to find more of me, you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Syloo91. That's CYLOO91. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at DanTProducer. I'll see you guys next time with Katara and Sokka's adventures in Avatar: North and South.